Hello, my name is Ana Maria Tudor and I have a word for you. This is an amazing word that I received this morning, and it's about the fact that God's power and God's name will triumph in your life and in the lives of your enemies, but in a different way. So God's power and God's name and their triumph in your life. I was reading from Exodus 9:15 and 16. For by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague. This is God talking here through Moses to Pharaoh. That would have this plague would have wiped you off the earth, but I have raised you up, or I have let you live, or I have gave you power to live, to stand, for this very purpose, that I might show you my power, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. And what got my attention was that God let Pharaoh live. He kind of like gave him a quantity of power to live, in order that God will show his power and his name will get through the edges, until the edges of the earth. And I remembered the verse in Romans which says that we stand by faith. So we have two categories of people: people of faith who believe in God, who stand by faith, and people who are standing by the power of God in order that God will show his power. But it's a different way of God showing his power. For the believers, God is showing his power inside of them. The power of faith, the words that they receive from God have power, have that God's power of life in them, which transforms them. But the unbelievers have power to stand, to see God's power from the outside, like how God stands against them because they do not believe. And this parallel got my attention, and I went further in my study, and this is amazing. So we have actually three categories of people: Moses and his people, Pharaoh and his people, and the others, kind of like all the people until the edges of the earth. And I've talked to you till now about two different ways of God showing his power. And now let's see how others are involved in this example. So let's talk about God's name. When Moses was chosen to lead the Jews out of Egypt, because God wanted to set them free, God prepared Moses for a long time to lead the people out of Egypt. So he formed his character inside of him. You know, when in Acts said, it is written that to the disciples, after the resurrection of Christ, after he was raised, to wait there in that city until they will receive power, the Holy Spirit, to be able to witness about him, And This is what God does with believers. He fills them with power in order that God will make known his name, but from inside out, from the place where they are till the next one and the next one, until the ages of the earth. So it's like Moses knows God, Pharaoh knows God through Moses, and hear this verse. You from Isaiah, you who are far away, hear what I have done. You who are near, acknowledge my power. So the person who are near here in this example are Moses and Pharaoh. Moses is near God on the inside. Pharaoh is near in the other way. Like the action is happening here. God is showing his power from the outside here. And what is happening? The others, the ones that are far away, they are hearing what God is doing, like the gospel is preached in that way. So the ones that are near acknowledge God's power, and the other hear what God is doing. And this is for Moses. So from Moses, God's name is made known from starting with him and then to Pharaoh and then to the others. But in the case of Pharaoh, from his perspective, God's name is made known in the other way around, like because the others hear what God has done, is actually like they are believing more in God than Pharaoh does, because we know that Pharaoh didn't let the people go. There were many miracles that God did through Moses in order that Pharaoh would let the people, the Jews, go into the wilderness to worship God. So actually, we can say that Pharaoh was the last one that heard God's name. Kind of, because we know that he didn't believe. He just finally let the Israelites go because the firstborn were killed in all the Egypt. And even like that, he sent his army after them. And we know the split of the Red Sea and how they died there. Anyway, so the Israelites got in the wilderness. They were on that way that God wanted them. So it's like between commas, like Pharaoh knew God's name. But what I wanted to underline is that the others from far away believed more in God's name, in character, because of what they heard happening to Pharaoh than Pharaoh himself. So two different directions of hearing God's name and positions towards his name and beliefs in the heart. So this is pretty much amazing. So God doesn't waste it. God doesn't waste time and pain and suffering. If God lets your enemies live, give them power to live, is that he wants to show his power through them gradually, because we know that little by little God will get rid of our enemies in order that we, the believer, will a raise in our power, in our trust in Him, to be able to conquer what God gives us to conquer. And His name will be proclaimed in all the earth. He will be, for you, it will be proclaimed from the inside to outside, from the enemies, the other way around. So no matter what the situation, we know for sure that these things will happen. The triumph of God's power and God's name. Only that kind of different than we imagined. But if you see the big picture, it's pretty amazing. And I think it's important to see the stage where you are in this displaying, in this God's displaying of His power and proclaiming of His name. Because a lot of work done in you, it shows you the big purpose that you are prepared for. And the little steps that you see God showing His name in your Pharaoh's life, like towards your enemies. If you see that this process is slow, it's just like it's a mirroring of your processing, of your growth. So you are growing on the inside and it takes long, and your enemies are knowing God's name over a long period of time. It's the mirroring process. It's God working something big, but He's doing it like that, like slowly, because of our capacity and because of God's glory that He wants to reveal. So, blessings and see you soon.